Let's discuss with criminal defense attorney Sara Azari. Sara, Avenatti says he plans to cross-examine Daniels for 6 hours. How do you see this going down? Are you expecting fireworks?
On a 6 hours, I mean, this is Michael Avenatti on full display going for the jugular, but he did spend 2 days to cross-examine a former employee in a similar case in California involving embezzlement from client funds. So I expect he's going to take the 6 hours, but you have to understand that typically, even though we overestimate the time we need with witnesses, and I'm the queen of that, it really doesn't take that long. I mean, this is something that could be done in 2 or 3 hours, but of course for him it's 6. More importantly, I think, Anna, what this will be is the cross-examination is both awkward and very effective. It's awkward because he's going up against a former client and he's confronting and cross-examining her. But it's very effective because he has what most of us trial lawyers don't have, which is this intimate witness familiarity. You know, for over 2 years, they were partners in crime. They went up against Donald Trump for his hush money payments and campaign finance violations. And now they're adversaries. And he knows better than anyone, even if he had a lawyer, that lawyer, what triggers her, you know, how to poke and prod and elicit and trigger her in a way that potentially could make her testimony fall apart. But again, it's a pretty easy case for the prosecutors in the Southern District of New York. They typically bring financial crime cases that they know will lead to a conviction. And this is 4 transactions, $300,000. It's really not that complicated.
You talk about the history of these two taking on then President Trump. And you'll recall Daniels has been dragged by Trump in the media for years. How do you think that might impact the jury here?
Well, I think there's been a lot of bias elimination that went on in the voir dire. You know, the jurors were asked, for example, about how they feel or their attitudes towards an adult film star, you know, whether that would be used against Stormy and her credibility. And much like that line of questioning, there has been questions about the political aspect of this and you know, the jurors' political views and what Stormy Daniels meant to Donald Trump for so long. So I'm pretty confident that both sides have had the ability to pick a jury that's fair and impartial to the best of their ability.
Do you think Avenatti will then testify in his own defense?
That would be even more awkward because that is when a pro se defendant is wearing 2 hats. He's answering questions, being cross-examined by the prosecutors, but he's also wearing the hat of a lawyer on his own behalf, making the correct, hopefully, evidentiary objections and motions. So that, I think, will be most awkward. And of course, this judge, Anna, has admonished him that he's not going to take a backdoor way into taking the stand. Either he takes the stand or he invokes his fifth and remains silent, but he's not going to testify in the line of questioning that's directed at the multiple witnesses that he's going to cross-examine or even witnesses that he might put on direct.
And remind us the charges that he's facing.
Well, he's facing fraud, basically, under federal law, and that involves embezzlement. You know, 4 different transactions amounting to $300,000, where these funds allegedly they did not belong to him. They were Stormy's advance on a book deal, and then he falsified a document, allegedly, to receive these funds into his client trust account. Then he took the funds out of that account and put them in his personal and business accounts, paying for his Ferrari, for his jet, etc., and I think back payroll. But regardless, it's going to turn on the prosecution's ability to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that these funds did not belong to him, that they were Daniels' funds, that he falsified this document and willfully misappropriated these funds for his own personal use, and that it was without her knowledge and authorization. And so that's why Daniels' testimony is important, because she's laying the foundation for her lack of knowledge and the lack of authorization, making this embezzlement. I think it's a fairly easy case to prove.
So just quickly then, what would be the punishment if convicted?
If convicted, under the sentencing guidelines, there's this report that half of those monies